Andrea Stella, McLaren's team principal, had a clear message before the Azerbaijan GP. Anyone who had prematurely written Max Verstappen out of the championship fight had massively underestimated both the Dutchman and Red Bull. After the weekend in Baku, there should now be little doubt that Stella was right in his assessment. Already in qualifying, Verstappen made a strong statement. With his 6th pole position of the season, he surpassed the record of both McLaren drivers and impressively demonstrated that Red Bull has left the weak spring behind. Still on Saturday, Stella spoke of a YES in capital letters when asked whether Verstappen was still in the title race. After Sunday, the Italian added, "This confirms it," because what followed was not just any victory. Verstappen achieved his 6th Grand Slam of his career in Baku. Pole, leading every lap, fastest race lap, and victory. A demonstration of power rarely seen in this season. Just a few weeks ago, Verstappen was 94 points behind Oscar Piastri. Now he has reduced the gap to 69 points, with 7 races and 3 sprints still remaining, meaning 199 possible points. Suddenly, what seemed like an insurmountable gap has become a realistic chase again. If you want to see F1 content with straight talk and no sugarcoating, subscribe to the channel now and write in the comments whether you still believe Verstappen can win the 2025 title. In his analysis, Stella emphasized that Red Bull's performance in Baku was no flash in the pan. Already in Monza, the team had laid the foundation. A revised floor package plus a better understanding of the car's operating window. The Italian stressed, "In Monza, we saw that it was more than just a car that works on high-speed tracks. They were fast in slow and medium corners and on the straights. The competition should hear these words with growing concern." Because Verstappen showed not only the familiar toughness in wheel-to-wheel combat, but also the precision that has distinguished him for years. With a competitive car behind him, he remains the driver to beat. The race went particularly badly for Oscar Piastri, the championship leader. The Australian crashed out in the very first lap, ending his impressive streak of 42 consecutive races with points. Piastri openly admitted the mistake, speaking of a simple, stupid error. For him, a comfortable lead still remains, but the psychological effect should not be underestimated. A driver who acted flawlessly for weeks is suddenly under pressure. And pressure in Formula One has already cost many careers. Lando Norris, in turn, missed the great opportunity to fully exploit his teammate's setback. The Briton couldn't get beyond 7th place, caught in a DRS train, and additionally slowed by a slow pit stop. Instead of drastically reducing the gap to Piastri, he even lost more ground to Verstappen. His summary was correspondingly disappointing, even though he emphasized wanting to bounce back in Singapore. For Stella, it was clear. We knew that Baku would be a difficult track for us. In Singapore, we need to fight at the front again. But he too should know that Red Bull has just regained momentum. Helmut Marko spoke of revived hope and pointed out that the victories in Monza and Baku were achieved on very different tracks, proof that the car has a broad operating window again. Formula One thus faces an exciting final phase. Piastri leads, Norris lurks, but Verstappen is back, and with a force reminiscent of the dominant years of 2022 and 2023. Anyone who believed the Dutchman was beaten was mistaken. The situation in the championship fight has shifted noticeably after Baku. Although Oscar Piastri continues to lead the standings, his absence at the finish in Baku raises questions. How stable is the young Australian when under real title pressure? A mistake can happen, but precisely at a moment when his biggest rival delivers a perfect weekend, he unnecessarily breathed new life into Verstappen. Piastri himself showed remorse, speaking of a simple, stupid error. But words don't change the fact that his lead has shrunk from 94 to 69 points, and he's wavering for the first time this season. Lando Norris also missed the chance to use the situation to his advantage. The Briton, who is 25 points behind Piastri, had all the cards in his hand after his teammate's retirement. But botched qualifying, a weak race, and a slow pit stop cost him the opportunity to decisively catch Verstappen. Instead of building pressure, he ended the weekend frustrated in 7th place. The internal dynamics at McLaren could shift as a result. Piastri remains ahead, but Norris threatens to lose touch in the direct duel. For Red Bull and Verstappen, the situation is clear. Singapore will be the acid test. Helmut Marko already emphasized that it's no longer just about track characteristics. "Monza was not a one-off," said the Austrian. "Baku showed that our car works on very different layouts." But Singapore has been a problem case for Red Bull for years. The heat, the bumps, the need for maximum downforce, all of this traditionally doesn't suit the car. In 2023, Verstappen missed the podium here as the only time in the entire year. If a victory, or at least a podium place, were to succeed now, it would be a signal to the entire competition. Red Bull is back in the title fight. Andrea Stella, meanwhile, tries to manage expectations at McLaren. After Baku, he emphasized that Singapore should suit McLaren. "We knew that Baku would be difficult for us. In Singapore, we have a better starting position to fight for victories." But his words have an aftertaste, because while he spreads optimism publicly, he knows internally Verstappen and Red Bull have just gained the most dangerous of all factors: momentum. Also notable is the role of Yuki Tsunoda. The Japanese driver fights in the rear midfield, but his 2 points finishes in the last 3 races, including 6th place in Baku, suggests that the RB21 has become easier to drive. This underlines that Red Bull's updates help not only Verstappen, but the entire team. For Tsunoda himself, however, this should be little comfort, as his future beyond 2025 remains more than uncertain. Verstappen, on the other hand, makes no secret of realistically assessing his championship chances despite all the jubilation. Speaking to Sky Sports F1, he explained, "It's still a big hole. Everything would have to go perfectly for me, and a bit of bad luck on their side. But it's precisely this pragmatism that makes the Dutchman so dangerous. He knows he has nothing to lose, and he knows how to extract maximum success from minimal chances." A look at the remaining season shows 7 races, 3 sprints, 199 points. Piastri leads with 69 points. Norris is 25 behind. Verstappen another 44 points back. Everything is still open, and the upcoming races in Singapore, Suzuka, and Austin could be decisive. Should Verstappen perform strongly in Singapore, the balance of power would shift definitively. From a duel between Piastri and Norris, it would become a 3-way fight in which the most experienced driver could suddenly be the favorite again. Formula One is thus experiencing a championship battle that many fans have demanded for years. Young versus experienced, teammates in conflict, a dominant champion on the hunt. McLaren with its new star duo has everything to lose. Red Bull with Verstappen, everything to gain. Andrea Stella's belief in Verstappen may have been ridiculed by some, but after Baku, it's considered confirmed. The decisive question now is, will Singapore be the deciding factor? One thing is certain. Should Red Bull also prevail there, then the 2025 title fight won't be decided between Piastri and Norris, but over the man many had already written off, Max Verstappen.